Hello, hello. We are back once more. Welcome to the channel. This is Zach. Hoping you're having a great day. As you saw by the title, this is another guide video. This time we're going to be discussing my favorite Pokemon, just in general. Also my favorites to play in this game, Ho-Oh. Now, longtime viewers will know that there is an older guide for Ho-Oh on the channel already, made sometime last year around when the Pokemon was released, where I discussed at length all the various aspects of the Pokemon in a similar manner to how I do my videos these days. There were some differences between then and now in terms of how I structure and format things. So I was thinking for a while that I would like to, refurbish things. And lo and behold, in the latest patch, they reworked a lot of how this Pokemon works by changing these two moves completely. Fire Spin now has a stun component it didn't have, and Sacred Fire has completely replaced Fly. It's a completely new move. So there's lots to talk about, lots to go over. And we're going to go over it today. And another part of why I wanted to go over it today is this Pokemon is really, really good for climbing right now in the new season. They're going to nerf this Pokemon. I'm telling you, they're just going to do it. And even after they nerf it, it'll still be strong, like what happened last time. To give you an idea of what I mean when I say this Pokemon's good for climbing, I have already reached Master Rank in one day. And on top of that, I have climbed high enough where I am technically top this much, 165. I think I peaked last night around number 43 overall, which is the highest I've ever been. In its early season, obviously it's not going to last. I'm not expecting to maintain this higher rank for the entire season, but it gives you an idea of how quickly you can climb with this Pokemon, how effective it is at just doing things that no other Pokemon is capable of doing. So we're going to do what we normally do. We're going to break down things step by step, talk about this Pokemon in general, held items, abilities, moves, all that stuff. So with that out of the way, let's get started. In terms of a general overview of this Pokemon, I would say even though Ho is a defender, he plays very unconventionally compared to most defenders. Most defenders, right, you want to just front line and throw out stun abilities and people walk up to you and then your team follows up with damage, right? Ho-Oh, you sort of do that, but it's a little different in that the way your moves and ability synergize with each other, Ho is really best at utilizing mobility to provide vision for the team, to scout out enemies, to expose their positions, and to capitalize on their poor positioning when available. The moveset and abilities, like I said, really mitigate the risks of playing in this way, on top of you just having a good HP pool and good defensive stats. So really, Pokemon's really good at weaving in and out of frontlining. You don't want to be like the sole tank for your team, because compared to something like Slowbro or Crustle or Mamoswine, you're not going to be as tanky as them overall, but you're still going to be tanky enough to where you can take a lot of hits for your team, and then of course you have Regenerator to help you heal off of that. With that other way, I've mentioned it a few times already, so let's look at the ability, Regenerator. This Pokemon doesn't take damage from enemy Pokemon for 3 seconds. Wild Pokemon do not count. It will recover 3% max HP every 2 seconds. Damage to shields will not deactivate Regenerator. Ho additionally recovers 0.3% max HP every 2 seconds. So, you already get this recovery whether or not you're taking damage. You just get 0.3% max HP every 2 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of a minute, it gets you, what is that, 30 times 0.3? You have calculators for that, right? It gives you 9% of your HP every minute, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider that it comes for free, you don't have to do anything to get that HP, it's pretty meaningful. It means that you can trade hits with your opponent in a casual way in lane or in scouting and not really be worse for wear. Even if they're canceling your Regenerator pretty frequently by attacking you, you're still going to be getting HP back at a decent rate. On top of that, just 3 seconds not taking damage, you get 3% max HP every 2 seconds. So again, let's do that. 3 times 30. That means in a minute you recover 90% of your HP, which is basically your entire HP pool, right? Even half a minute, you're going to get back close to half of your HP pool. It's going to be half of this, it's going to be 45%. So you're really incentivized to not take damage where you can to be able to regenerate back up. And again, this works into what I was talking about earlier, where you can frontline, take some hits, and then you back off for a little while, you regenerate back up, and then you can rotate back in. A couple of really nice things as well is, unlike leftovers, wild Pokemon cannot cancel your regenerator by attacking you, so you can continue farming, helping your team get levels, that sort of thing. You can also tank hits from Regieleki, Regirock, Rayquaza, whatever, and Regenerator won't get canceled. So Ho-Oh a great tank when it comes to fighting boss monsters. And furthermore, damage to shields will not deactivate Regenerator. So if you're on your goal zone and they don't throw enough damage at you to break through the little shield that you have, then you're going to keep getting Regenerator HP. Also, if you use a move like Fire Spin that gives you a shield, or if you have a Pokemon on your team that gives you a shield, let's say Hoopa's Trick or Alcremie's Decorate, that'll also keep your Regenerator preserved if it's already going. So all really solid stuff. You're really incentivized from this ability mainly to play a sort of guerrilla tactics style where you move in and out, and you're not really just sitting there taking hits. This is why I say Ho-Oh doesn't play like most defenders, because most defenders you just want to sit there and take hits as long as possible. Ho-Oh, you really want to capitalize, excuse me, you really want to capitalize on your ability to back off and heal up at a relatively decent rate. I mean, even just 10 seconds, right? So this was 30 seconds, right? You get 90 HP. So when I said earlier half a minute is more like you get half your HP. So if you're just like, if you back off for 10 seconds, you get 15% of your HP. Again, doesn't sound like a lot, but you add that to the max HP you get from that anyway. So we'll do that again, right? So 5 seconds of Regenerator will give you 16.5% of your HP. Look at your HP pool at all these levels, right? At 9, you have 6,000 HP already. Some Pokemon don't get that until they're 15. And you get 16% of that back in just 5 seconds of Regenerator. 7 seconds out of the fray, because you have to wait 2 seconds for... or 3 seconds rather, so 8 seconds out of the fray to get this HP back, which is really, really substantial. It allows you to rotate in and out pretty frequently. If you're not taking too heavy hits. If you take a lot of damage, obviously you'll have to back off for longer. But again, 15 seconds will get you half your HP pulled back. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty solid, actually. Next up, we'll talk about the attacks. So, becomes a boosted attack every third attack, shooting out a sweeping flame that deals increased damage and restores HP per enemy Pokemon hit. While firing the sweeping flame, Ho-Oh's movement speed is decreased by 30%. So, a few notable things here. The sweeping flame is actually slightly shorter range than your base attack. Very slightly, but it is noticeable if you play the Pokemon enough. So do keep that in mind when you're trying to space for last hits, that sort of thing. The animation as well is a little slow in that it sweeps all the way across like a fan. So if you're hitting a target that's right in front of you, it'll like take about half a second, a quarter second maybe to hit it. So again, when you're timing last hits, keep that in mind. And the movement speed decrease is kind of rough too sometimes, because if you're retreating while attacking people, then they're going to be able to gain on you a little bit in that time. However, there's a really, really big benefit to using this move in that, first of all, yeah, it's a sweeping hit, so you're going to hit lots of people. Second of all, you heal 4% max HP for each enemy Pokemon you hit, not wild Pokemon, Pokemon on the enemy team. So if you hit 2 people, that's 8% HP, which buys you more breathing room to back off and get Regenerator going, right? Really, really solid stuff from your attacks. Another big aspect of the Pokemon that makes it really strong. And the damage isn't too bad either, you know? I mean, it's not incredible or anything, but it's pretty solid. It's pretty good. So when you turn 1 and 3, you get Safeguard and or Tailwind, respectively. I would always suggest taking Tailwind first, because it's a damage-dealing move, so it'll help you clear farm faster early on. Until you get level 3. Obviously, I'll both at 3, and you'll usually have both when you're moving up to the first Indeedee or Baltoy that's contested. But Tailwind will help you get there a little faster in terms of killing the rabbits at the beginning faster, so we'll talk about what this move does now. Whip up a Whirlwind in a designated direction, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon hit. The Whirlwind then remains on the field for 5 seconds. Allies moving in the same direction as the Whirlwind have their movement speed increased by 30% for as long as they're in the field, and lasting for 0.5 seconds after stepping out of the field. Opposing Pokemon moving against the Whirlwind have the movement speed decreased by 30%, lasting for 0.5 seconds after stepping out of the field. So, this is a move that will help you, help your team, mess with the enemy team, make them move slower, all good stuff, right? And it's a pretty good hit of damage. When you're at 3, right, 609 doesn't sound like a lot, but keep in mind, a lot of early farm only has 1500 HP, so if you can get it down to like a third of its health, you can finish it off with a Tailwind in most cases, which is pretty nice. Maybe a little more than that. It might be like 2,000 or 1,800, something like that. But in any case, this is a really good secure tool, and it's very, very long range. This picture doesn't do it justice. It's like almost the entire screen length that it can hit sometimes, it feels like. It's a little less than that, maybe. But you get what I'm saying here, and we'll look at a replay in a little bit that sort of highlights what I'm talking about, gives a little more credence to what I'm saying. Basically, this is a really, really solid tool for securing farm in the lane, and that's the main way you should be using it. It's also good for, obviously, advancing your position and your teammate's position by throwing it towards the enemy and you guys ride it. And it dissuades the enemy's advance by slowing them down. So when you're retreating from enemies, you can throw it at them or away from them. Both are good. Usually at them is nice because then you also deal damage to them. And keep in mind, the movement speed change has a slight period that it lasts after they step out of the field. So it's giving you more movement than you think, and it's slowing the enemies more than you think as well. It's a really strong base move, actually. The only rough part is the 6-second cooldown, which means that you sort of have to be conservative with it in terms of securing your last hits. You don't want to throw it out nilly-willy, because if you miss the last hit with it, your opponent will have a decent time to react and get the last hit in your stead. So do keep that in mind when you're using it. Your other base move is Safeguard, which gives you a buff that lasts 5 seconds, creates a protective field around the user that reduces the next incoming source of damage by 50%. When this field reduces damage from an attack, the user's movement speed is increased by 40% for 3 seconds. So what are we seeing here? This is a mainly survivability tool. This helps you reduce damage you take from one hit, and it also gives you movement speed for escaping enemies. So it's great when you're going on them to keep your pressure up, keep chasing down. It's great for getting away because obviously helps you get away faster. And all of this with Tailwind as well works really great with Regenerator, right? So you can sort of see how all the things synergize really nicely together to help the Pokemon play the way it wants to. This move doesn't deal any damage, and though the buff is nice early on, it really starts to fall off as you get towards 7, so... I mean, obviously it's not a move you keep past 7, so that's sort of why. But do keep that in mind as you're using it, that the effect it has, and in general what it does, it's good, but it's not like OP or anything. It's a 5-second cooldown as well, so it's a decent cooldown. 50% damage decrease for the next incoming attack is pretty nice, because you can just tank a big, strong hit from like an Absol, let's say, or even like a Rapidash who hits you with Dazzling Gleam, right? That shit's really annoying. You just take off half of that, which, you know, you still take a pretty big hit maybe, but half is pretty nice. And then you back off with Regenerator, right? And that's really good too. So when you hit 5, you will get your first new move, Sky Attack or Flamethrower. Given how the moves work these days, my general preference is Flamethrower, Sacred Fire, but a lot of people still like Sky Attack, Fire Spin, so I will discuss both, and I think that both are still viable, obviously, and I think that, how do I put it? If they nerf Sacred Fire, Sky Attack, Fire Spin could be better, if not even. And it's what I was playing before they changed the Pokemon anyway, so it's a moveset I like already. I like both movesets, they're both solid. I will say, just to take a peek into the future a little bit, I do not think that you should mix and match too much, in that I don't think you should do like Fire Spin, Flamethrower, or Sky Attack, Sacred Fire. Those movesets can work, but they both have their weaknesses that I'm going to get into in a little bit. I know some people may disagree, so as ever, you know, do what you feel is best for you, or whatever you prefer. This guide is not necessarily to tell you you're wrong for anything, just sort of give you general advice. And do keep in mind, when you hit level 5, you get 5% cooldown reduction. So these are the actual cooldowns for the moves. I know it lists them as longer, it lists them 6 and 9 seconds, but they'll never actually be that long. Their actual cooldowns are these. So we'll talk about Sky Attack first, since it's a little simpler. Ho spreads their wings and charges in a loop. While charging, deal damage to enemies hit and burn the ground along the flight path for 4.5 seconds. The burning ground deals damage to enemies that touch it every 0.5 seconds and slows them by 30% for 1.5 seconds. If this move is used again, or if another move is used mid-charge, then the user stops in place. And during the flight, Ho receives 30% less damage. So, really good survivability tool for several reasons. First up, it's great at repositioning you. It also reduces the damage you take while flying. And it slows enemies when you fly over them or if they go on the fire. So it can help you escape people, again, help you chase people down. It's just really, really solid in many ways. It's also good for scouting bushes, because you can fly over bushes, and then if you hit them, or even if they walk into the bush afterwards and take damage from the fire, you'll know about it. Also, if you're retreating, and they take damage from the fire while chasing you, you'll know it as well, especially if you're running, because you can hear the sound effect in game, but even aside from that, if you're running Resonant Guard, you'll see the Resonant Guard become active in the bottom corner of the screen, and you'll get the little shield, which will tell you, oh hey, my fire is damaging someone, which is a big part of why Resonant Guard is good in the Pokemon. But we'll get to items in a little bit. Just in general, know that this move is very good for repositioning, and everything that you want to position for, this move can do. Whether that is scouting, whether that's checking tall grass, whether that's escaping, whether that's securing KOs against targets that are trying to flee. Because the damage, it's a pretty big chunk of damage you deal. And the fire on the ground also slows people, so it'll keep damaging them more than once because they're slowed and they're trying to get out of the fire that they're now walking in, and it's really freaking annoying. So it's just a really good damaging tool, which is why it's got a really long cooldown. It's one of Ho-Oh's stronger moves in a vacuum. If most of the Pokemon had the move, they'd probably use it just 'cause it's really freaking good. Your plus move at 11 when Ho-Oh is on the burning ground, you gradually restore HP. So again, helps it more survivability tool. And something nice you can do is retreat to tall grass with it and then sit in the tall grass where they can't see you and they have to blind hit you. And if they can't do it because all the moves are like short target, let's say Pikachu with Electro Ball plus Volt Tackle, they can't hit you at all, right? And then while you're there, you're covering HP. And if they want to come fight you, they got to walk through your fire. So it really helps you hold a position on the map. And that's really why I think Ho-Oh excels as a defender. You know, you're not doing a lot of frontlining sometimes, but you're helping to control space on the map. And that's sort of what I think defenders do more so than stun and frontline. I think that idea of how defenders play is, you know, very common. I don't think it's necessarily bad or wrong. I just think it's very short-sighted and limiting in terms of your scope of the game. I think it's much better to understand defenders as controlling space, and Ho-Oh in particular doing so by having a lot of AoE damage and slows and being very survivable. We'll talk about Flamethrower next. Blow flames in a designated direction, dealing damage to enemies hit every 0.25 seconds, and slowing Ho-Oh's movement speed by 15 seconds. This move may be held for up to 4 seconds to blow flames for longer. This move's cooldown increases the longer the flames are blown for. If enemies are hit, the user recovers HP. If enemies are hit thrice, they are burned, refreshing on additional hits of Flamethrower. So, just from this block of text alone, let me give you some information about that. If you've ever played Greedent or seen Greedent and you know how Bullet Seed works, where you sort of aim it and you can change where you're aiming it while you're using it, Flamethrower is the exact same way. What's really nice is you have to hit them 3 times to burn them, which is only 0.75 seconds, and you're slowing them as you're hitting them, and you're dealing a lot of damage over time pretty quickly, actually. I'd say this is a better damaging move than Sky Attack. Obviously, it's way less good from ability because it in fact slows you down and provides no movement whatsoever. So in games where you want strictly mobility, Sky Attack may be better, but as we will see later, you'll probably be fine with just Sacred Fire. So I would say Flamethrower is the best pairing with Sacred Fire, and again, since it's the best moveset right now, I would say this is probably your go-to. If you like the other thing or want to try the other thing or prefer the other thing, obviously that's still functional and valid as well. There's nothing wrong with that moveset. There's nothing that makes it bad. There's just one that's OP right now, and it's the one that's going to get nerfed, and so that's the one I'm vouching for and the one I've been climbing with. That's how I got as high as I've gotten so far in Master Rank. In addition, burn enemies take damage over 3 seconds at 0.5 second intervals, so it'll take 6 ticks of damage. Burned enemies also have their movement speeds decreased by 15% for 1.5 seconds, their attack speed decreased by 20% for 2 seconds, and their special attack decreased by 20% for 1.5 seconds. So, it makes it so they have a really hard time turning and fighting you, right? Because they're slowed down, they deal less damage, and if they're a special attacker in particular, they actually have less special attack damage, which is pretty nice. It makes Ho-Oh really good at finishing off and hunting down attackers. Also, enemies burned by Flamethrower will leave behind a scorched area. Enemies traversing the scorched area are slowed by 15%, so it's slightly worse than the Sacred Fire slow, but still decent. And then enemies that touch the area will also receive burns, but this burn will not spread the scorched area. So they just get burned by this part, not a part that leaves the scorched area. But they can still get burned by it, which is really nice. So let's say you hit them with just enough damage to burn them, right? It's going to be 3 of these plus 6 of these. So 300 plus, what's about 450? So it's about 700 damage for basically 1 second of Flamethrower. Or 0.75 seconds, not even 1 second. Is 700 damage, which is nutty. That is so nutty. Like, this is good damage, right? But this is on a 8.5 second cooldown. That, what I just said, is 1 second. And remember, this cooldown scales based on how long you use the move. So you use it for 1 second, which is 1/4 of the total duration you can. It's got like a 1.5 second cooldown. So 1.5 seconds for basically 700 damage is kind of insane. Not to mention, you'll heal about 200 HP in that duration from hitting them with the flamethrower that much. So really, really strong stuff. It's a really, really powerful damage dealing move for a defender to have. And the fact that it slows people and weakens them also works into helping Ho-Oh play defensively, helping defend your team. On top of that, your plus move at level 11 increases the length of time the flames may be blown to 5 seconds. So this also readjusts the scaling of the cooldown as well. So basically, the percentage of this duration you use is the percentage of the cooldown you get. So if you blow for 0.75 seconds, like I said, so 0.75 divided by 4, that's like what, 19%? This much of your cooldown. We'll times that by 5.7. You get a 1 second cooldown if you would do a flamethrower for 0.75 seconds. But at level 11, right, now your cooldown's down to 5.4 seconds, you got another 5% cooldown reduction along the way. Now if you burn for 0.75 seconds, it's only 15% of your total cooldown. So it only translates to a 0.81 second cooldown. A lot of math and a lot of nerding out to say that the cooldown gets way better for this. Like basically, this isn't just making the move like last longer, it's also reducing the cooldown effectively. So it's a very, very good buff for the move, especially when you can get stunned out of it and then it gets canceled and put on cooldown. Oh, it's not so bad anymore, right? Because now it comes back faster because I didn't use the full length of it as much. It also means that if you're just farming ball toys or whatever, that you can farm more efficiently on the map. And that it comes at 11 really helps you guarantee that you can get 13 by Rayquaza. Really, really good stuff. This is a really strong damage dealing tool. It also lets you scout bushes, obviously. You can flamethrower a bush, and you will hear the damage ticks, and you will get Resonant Guard hits if there's someone in there. On top of that, you can use it as you're fleeing someone. It does slow you down some, so it's kind of rough to use it that way sometimes. But if only one person's chasing you and you feel like you can turn on them if you get some help, flamethrowing them as you're retreating can help them slow down and give your allies time to connect while also dealing damage to them and healing you some as well to help you survive. So overall, really solid move in every way. Very much like Skytack in that sense. They do different things, but they're both very, very strong moves. Let's talk about your other moves you get at 7. So we'll talk about the less valuable move before the more valuable move in my eyes, and we'll go from there. So again, 7, you'll have 5% cooldown duration still, so this is the actual cooldowns. It says at base 12 and 9 seconds. It'll never actually be that, because you only have this move at 7, when you'll have 5% cooldown reduction, so it's 11.4 seconds and 8.55 seconds. Anyway, Fire Spin. Generate a blazing vortex around yourself and gain a shield. While the vortex is active, Ho-Oh slows itself by 40% and cannot attack. The first time an enemy interacts with the vortex, they receive an 80% movement speed decrease, decaying by 10% every half second over 4 seconds. The vortex also deals damage to enemies. If allies are within the vortex, 50% of post-mitigation damage those allies would take is redirected to Ho-Oh as true damage, without ignoring shields. So your shield will get hit and decreased by damage your allies take, but this move essentially lets you tank for your allies and also slow enemies by a lot. 80% is a ton, and yeah, it decays over the course of 4 seconds, but that means that after 1 second, they're still slowed by 60%. That's also a lot. After 2 seconds, they're still slowed by 40%, which is still a pretty substantial slow. This move is a huge slow. It's very, very annoying to fight into and get out of. If there's a shield after 4 seconds, or if this move is used again while this move's shield is intact, a heat wave is released around the user, dealing damage to enemies and additional damage equal to the percentage of the damage the shield received. The emitted heat wave additionally stuns non-allied Pokemon it hits for 0.6 seconds. There is a 1.5 second delay before the shield may be detonated from the start of the vortex. If the shield is destroyed before detonation, no damage is dealt. So, to explain what that means in English, the longest time it can last is 4 seconds. After it runs out, or if you press the button again before then, you will detonate the shield and deal damage to people around you. The damage will have a base amount plus additional percentage based on the amount of damage you've taken thus far. And you can't do it until 1.5 seconds has passed. What else? Oh yeah, the stun for 0.6 seconds. That's a newer thing, right? It didn't have it before, now it has a stun, but it does less damage as a result, so I would not say it's a strict buff. It's sort of a sideways change in that sometimes the damage was nice for just being able to nuke someone for a ton of damage, right? Especially if you take a lot of damage to your shield, that'll boost the damage you deal outward. And it also helped with securing Rayquaza. The stun is a little less good for both those reasons, but it also helps your team fight a little more in that it gives your teammates an easy way to line up their attacks. And obviously, it synergizes with slowing them down, right? You slow them down by a lot, and then you stun them for a decent duration as well. The shield is 30% of your max HP, which, again, as we've discussed, is a lot. If this is your level, you have a shield that's about 1500 HP. So unless you're facing an attacker who's out of range and just nuking you, you're not going to get that shield broken too easily. And even if it is broken, with your plus move at 13, it'll automatically release the heat wave. So part of what makes the move weak is that if they break the shield before you pop it, then you don't get any damage out of it. So in that 1.5 seconds, if they can burst you down, then you get no damage. But now with the plus move, you will. So it's very, very strong for securing Rayquaza, especially because you can sit on Rayquaza with your Fire Spin active if you have the plus move, and either they hit Rayquaza and draw it closer to you securing it, or they hit you, and guess what? Maybe you'll secure it just by the shield popping. So it's very, very strong in that sense. It's a very strong control tool. You can use it to cancel your Sky Attack, and like you'll immediately Fire Spin wherever you're at in your Sky Attack, so it's a good way of catching enemies off guard with this slow and then this slow, which do stack, so you can slow them by a ton, and then stunning them while they're still slowed, and while you're healing from this as well. They're just really synergized very well together, Sky Attack and Fire Spin, which is why I think those two should go together pretty much always. Flamethrower Fire Spin gives you 0 mobility, which is kind of rough, but you do have a lot more damage you can do on your own. So if it's a game you think that you don't need mobility at all, and you would rather just be damaging people, maybe there's like 2 or 3 defenders on their side, or they have no speedsters, or all their Pokemon are really slow, you can maybe get away with that sort of thing. But in general, with the way Regenerator works, I still think Sky Attack is better in those cases, just to get out of the fray when you need to be able to heal back up. Being able to do that is very, very valuable. I would say pretty much always you should be thinking about how can I make use of Regenerator, because this is the Ho-Oh's best asset. So, again, Fire Spin, Flamethrower makes it harder to take advantage of that, whereas Sky Attack naturally synergizes with Generator, so keep that in mind. Let's talk about this thing. What I consider to be the best move in the game right now. Sacred Fire. Oh my goodness. So, I'll start with the simple TLDR. If you played Ho-Oh before you played with Fly, this is a straight up better version of Fly. The reason being, they added a damage component at the start, and they reduced the cooldown. I know this looks like a longer cooldown than Fly was, because Fly was like a 9 or 10 second cooldown, right? And this is longer than that. But it's actually shorter, and I'll explain why in just a moment. So, anyway, we'll read this and we'll get into it, and then I'll talk about all the stuff and why this move is so freaking OP, and why I'm guaranteeing that they're gonna nerf it, and why if you want to climb the Ho-Oh, do it now. It's probably still going to be good after they nerf it, but it's not going to be nearly as good as it is now. It's freaking OP right now. So, shoot a Mystical Fireball at an area, dealing damage to non-allied Pokemon it hits, stunning them for 0.6 seconds, and leaving them burned for 3 seconds, reducing their attack by 15%. Then fly high in the air for up to 8 seconds. The next 3 basic attacks... Oh my goodness, who is bothering me? I'm sorry, friend, I'm busy. I'm making a guide. I should have put myself in a lobby to avoid that. Sorry for your ears, those watching. I'll also let him know that I'm making a guide, so he doesn't feel like I'm ignoring him purposefully or anything like that. Sorry about that. Slight lack of professionalism on my part. Let me just message here. Anyway, where was I? The next 3 basic attacks are boosted attacks. While flying, the user is able to move freely over walls, and its attack and movement speed are increased by 30%. If this move is used again, the user lands, canceling the attack and movement speed bonuses. Note that unlike Fly, which it had before, this version does not deal damage when you land. So that is the one aspect of the move that is strictly worse than it was before. Everything else is strictly better though. Ho-Oh may not interact with objects on the ground such as berries or Eos energy, but may score on goal zones. Before, you couldn't even score. Now you can at least score. You still can't pick up berries or energy, but you can score, which is a pretty big change, actually, so very nice. There's the damage it does. It's not as big a hit as Fire Spin, obviously, but it comes out faster, and it does stun for the same duration. So it's good for like a fast stun. And you're boosted at 13, increases the attack reduction of the burn to 30%. So if you have Sacred Fire and Flamethrower, you can reduce the damage of attackers and special attackers both, which is a large part of why these two moves synergize great together. Another part of that is if you have Flamethrower, you don't have the mobility of Sky Attack, so you want some mobility on one of your moves, and Sacred Fire provides that. On top of that, you can do things like fly over a chasm where melee attackers can't hit you, and then Flamethrower them. And then they're forced to walk away or they die. And that's really, really annoying to fight into, let me tell you. Other things you can do with Sacred Fire, obviously, is the 3 boosteds means that you get 3 sweeping attacks that heal you if they hit enemy Pokemon. So it's a survivability tool in that sense. Being able to fly with increased movement speed means that you can free path and avoid enemies and escape fights that are going poorly. Especially with X speed, it really helps you as like a get out of jail free card. So it's a really, really nice move in that sense. And the stun also helps buy you time to escape in that way. All really, really solid stuff. Let's see. Your attack is also increased for this duration, so it'll help your Flamethrower even more. Like, this is a nutty move with Flamethrower, let me tell you. And another thing they changed, so before, the duration of the fly was about the same as the cooldown, right? The cooldown, however, did not decay until you landed out of your fly. So it was like an 8-second cooldown or something, and when you end flying, that's when the cooldown for 8 seconds starts. They have changed it to where the cooldown will now decay while you are flying. In other words, if you use this move and you fly for the full duration and then land, you will have 3.4 seconds before you can use it again, which is absolutely mind-boggling. Like, you can stun people a lot, you can fly a lot. Like, they basically made the cooldown of the move lower and added a damage/stun component at the beginning. It's absolutely mind-boggling what they did for this move. It's so insane. They're gonna nerf it. I keep saying that because it's gonna happen, because this effect is really good. This is really good. The cooldown aspect is really insane. I feel like that must be an oversight of some kind, because it didn't work that way before, and it's really, really good now that it works that way. What else can you do? Obviously, you can scout bushes by flying over them. Obviously, they'll be in the bush technically, so people in there can hit you, but it helps you with using Flamethrower to scout bushes as well. Again, quickly being able to reposition across the battlefield with flying is really good. The damage from this move is also a useful, it's not like a huge hit, but it can be used to secure objectives since the range is pretty solid. It's about the same range as Pollen Puff, so if you played Eldegoss at all, or if you watched my Eldegoss guide, you already know that's a decently ranged attack. So Sacred Fire does that, and again, the stun is instant as soon as it lands. There's no delay on that, so if you want a fast stun, this move is good for that as well. In that sense, it's better than Fire Spin. There's not a whole lot else to say about this move. It's straightforward, and it's broken. It's a really, really strong move. I think that it's going to get nerfed for sure. If not the damage aspect or the duration of flying, the cooldown needs to be changed in some fashion, because the fact that it decays during use is absolutely insane. It makes the Pokemon crazy, crazy good. That's how I got to 1400 already, is Sacred Fire Flamethrower, basically. Let's talk now about your Unite move, Rekindling Flame. Very cool move, right? When a nearby ally is knocked out, a feather is left in their place until they respawn at base. When Rekindling Flame is used, Ho spreads their wings and consumes all the Aeos energy held to revive knocked out allies where their feathers are for 60% of their max HP. It can only be used if there are feathers nearby. The number of revives are based on how much energy is consumed. So no matter how much energy you have, you always can unite. You always can revive one person. You need 9 energy to get 2 people, 17 to get 3, and 25 to get the full 4. So in the mid-late game, it's generally good to make sure you're always carrying at least 25 energy. And if you're going to score, you want to make sure there is energy nearby or available that you can pick up, that you can get to get 25 back for your next Unite move. If it's on cooldown, then it's a little more valid to score and then find energy before it comes off cooldown. But just keep that in mind. That 25 is a very big threshold to hit. And if you can't hit that, 17 for 3 is still good, and 9 for 2 is useful sometimes as well. And of course, when you use the move for 6 seconds, you get a 20% max HP shield and an 80% movement speed buff. Absolutely crazy with Regenerator, right? You can use your Unite move and then get the heck out of dodge and heal up.
it's like a free X speed, basically. It's like kind of better than an X speed, honestly. And with X speed, you kind of go crazy. Um, it also helps you with chasing down low HP targets with Sacred Fire and Flamethrower, obviously. Your Fire Spin is suddenly way more mobile than it used to be if you're using that. All very good stuff. A few things to note about this move is the cooldown is a lot longer than most cooldowns for Unite moves. It's about 2 minutes, so if you're going to use it without doing any farming or doing any scoring or anything at all, you want to make sure you have enough time for it to come off cooldown before Rayquaza. If you're doing some farming, it's about a 90-second cooldown in most cases, in my experience, so usually 330 is the cutoff point in my mind, and you might not have it right at Rayquaza, but usually your teammates aren't going to die right at Rayquaza, and if they do, hey, they suck, right? But in all seriousness, this move is really, really flashy, really, really strong. I think in some ways it's kind of the worst part of the Pokemon. It's a really strong move, don't get me wrong, but this is insane throughout the entire game. This is also insane throughout the entire game. This is insane from freaking minute 0. Like, everything on this Pokemon is really strong, so that this move does what it does is, like, cool, but it's really flashy and sometimes unnecessary in my experience. In that, how do I put it? If your team wipes them and you don't have anyone that dies on your side, you don't need Rekindling Flame, right? And if your team gets wiped and you revive them and they get wiped again, then it didn't do anything, right? It's only good in cases where the revive can actually meaningfully turn the tides of battle. And the 60% HP they have means that they can get bursted down if they're not careful or not paying attention, or if they're in a bad spot, or if the enemy just sets up around them properly. Like if you resurrect one person and they're surrounded by enemies, they're probably just going to die again and you wasted your cooldown and now your ally is now an enemy, they hate you, right? That feels pretty bad. So do keep that in mind. But sometimes it is good just for your own survivability because you get the movement speed and also create more targets around you that the enemy has to deal with. So it's kind of selfish, but sometimes you can use it as like a help yourself tool in that sense. What else is there to say about this move? I don't know. I mean, it's definitely won me some games before. It's definitely good enough to do that. So it's not bad by any means. But that I consider it one of the worst aspects of the Pokemon should tell you how strong all the other stuff is, right? Especially this. And especially this. This is gonna get nerfed because this cooldown's insane. If you are 13 and you get the 10% cooldown reduction, brother, this is 8 seconds flying, 2.8 second cooldown. That is nothing. If you have cooldown reduction of any kind as well to stack on top of this, it just gets better. It's like, this is like a really low cooldown for what it does and for the stun and for the buff and everything. All really, really good stuff. I think I mentioned as well, but again, this boosts your attack while you're flying, so it just helps Flamethrower a ton. It's an insane move. It's so insane. I think the best moveset right now is definitely Flamethrower, Sacred Fire. I think Skytech Fire Spin is also really strong, so if you enjoy that, it's definitely valid. I think Skytech Sacred Fire can work some as well, because both these moves deal decent damage, so it used to be awkward because there wasn't really a damage aspect to fly outside of the boosted attacks it gives you. Now there is, so you can more so get away with it. And having 2 ability moves helps you stay really survivable. So if you're really just trying to get your Unite moves off and your team doesn't need the extra damage and slow a Flamethrower, Skytech Sacred Fire might be good. I still think Skytech or Sacred Fire Flamethrower is really OP. I think the worst moveset is Fire Spin Flamethrower because you have no mobility. And so you have no way to back off and get your Regenerator off without your team stepping in to help you, or you having X speed or reject or something like that. So do keep all of that in mind. And as you saw with me moving up the slider, your HP gets pretty ridiculous by 13. Your defensive stats are really strong. And again, your attack is still nothing to scoff at. It's still very, very strong. And that just works really well with Flamethrower, right? Like, all of this gets better as you get higher level. That's really good. This gets insane too. Like, Sky Attack plus Fire Spin is actually the most burst damage you can get on the Pokemon, but Sacred Fire Flamethrower I think is still better DPS overall. With that said, now that we've gotten through all the moves, attacks, abilities, that sort of stuff, let's talk about items. So, I think the best held items for Ho-Oh are definitely Resonant Guard and XP Share, and then your third is sort of a choice. Your battle item, I think, is pretty much always... I'll talk about battle items first, actually, because I think it's a little more straightforward. If this is the build you're going, the build I think is the best build order. I think X Speed is pretty much the most valuable item. Being able to quickly chase people down and Flamethrower at X Speed is nice. Obviously, Sacred Fire flying with X speed means you can get across the map in a crazy amount of time and just do things that are really, really insane with movement. All really strong stuff. Potion is okay. It can help you be a little more cyberable, give you time for Regenerator, but again, if you're using Regenerator right, you probably don't even need Potion. Full heal can be better than X speed if they have a lot of stuns and you're worried about getting stunned. That is one of the things that Ho sort of struggles against, is getting stunned a lot, because you want to back off and use Regenerator and you want to use your mobility to do so, right? And if you're getting stunned constantly, it makes it really hard to do that. So Pokemon with a lot of stuns really annoy Ho. So if they have a ton of stuns in their team, full heal might be good. If they have like an Espeon, Gardevoir, like that's two of their cores, and they have maybe Mamoswine and Blastoise as well, full heal might be a good option. It's lower cooldown, or it's about the same cooldown as X speed as well. So you're not like losing a whole lot in that sense, and it just helps you avoid all the stuns that are gonna ruin you. Other items to consider, I think Goal Hacker's kind of a meme, but if you want to try it, Ho is one of the better Pokemon to put it on because of how strong of a laner he is, so this just helps your laning phase a lot. It's kind of worthless after lane, which is why I don't like it, but if you want to have a good lane and you want to really, really have a strong lane, offensively and defensively, this can help. Eject button is also obviously pretty solid for just moving around in general. I think that this is usually better when you have Fire Spin, because you can eject during your Fire Spin to jump on top of people that aren't getting slow. And remember, the slow that it does applies the first time they touch the Fire Spin. So if they're standing inside of the Fire Spin and you eject on top of them, they'll start with the full duration slow of 80%. Pretty crazy stuff, right? I think those are pretty much the only items I would consider running. Slow Smoke is like... It's kind of interesting with all the movement options you have to be able to put a Slow Smoke somewhere where they might not be expecting it. Like, you can fly over a bush and slow all of them, or you can Sacred Fire to fly over something and slow someone and then fly back over the chasm while they're still slowed. Like, it's got some meme applications. I don't think it's as good as just, like, X Speed. Like I said, I think X Speed is the best overall item for Ho-Oh. On both movesets, really, but on the other moveset, Eject can be pretty good too. You also can eject during Sky Attack to, like, jump forward with your flying angle, which can be useful sometimes, or jump to a different position with that. So you can catch people off guard with that as well. It's pretty cool stuff. This is like a big brain move with big brain item with Sky Attack, Fire Spin. But even then, X Speed is just really nice to make sure you can get out of the fray, to heal back up with Regenerator. In terms of your choice item, I have Attack Weight here because that's what I've been using recently, because if you get full stacked, it'll give you the most attack possible at every possible level of attack. Other options to consider if you just want raw attack, but you don't want to stack. Excel Bracer is really nice too, obviously, because especially with this moveset, you're going to get a lot of kills and assists. So you're going to get all your stacks in this pretty early on, usually in the game if you're playing right. And then you'll get, what is it, like 12% total, which is pretty decent. It's not going to give you as much as Attack Weight does, but it's still going to be a good chunk of change. Curse is really, really nice on Ho-Oh in general because of all the damage over time you have and area of effect moves you have that can make it so people are constantly getting cursed. That's why Resonant Guard's really good in the Pokemon. I should have talked about these items first. I'll talk about these in first. Let me finish talking about choice items. All over the place right now. Just so excited about this Pokemon. But yeah, for all the reasons I said before, in terms of AoE and damage over time, Curse is really good. And that Sacred Fire gives you 3 boosteds, and so you can make use of boosteds more. Being able to use boosteds on people with Curse Bangle is really nice as well, so that'll give a longer duration that they are cursed. And generally, I'd say in non-draft games, having at least one curse item on your team is pretty nice most of the time. If it's going to be someone else, that's fine, but if no one else has it, then you can run Curse Bangle and be the hero for your team when they bring out like a Goodra or a Slowbro or something like that. That's all really solid stuff. Other things to consider, weakness policy can be like Excel Bracer in terms of just flat percentage boost to your attack damage. Obviously 10% is less than 12%, so it's not as good a boost overall in the mid-late game, but it is better in the early game, I think. And the HP does synergize well with Resonant Guard and Regenerator, so not a bad item to consider as well. Focus Band can be nice if you're a solo tank for your team, and you want to make sure you can get out to use your Regenerator, because once they start bursting you, right, this will give you the extra HP recovery you need to back off and regenerate back up. So this can sometimes be very, very clutch. If your team is like 4 attackers or all damage dealers aside from you, and you have to do solo helper duty, this can be really useful for making sure you have the survivability to do so. Buddy Barrier can also be nice sometimes because you have such a large HP pool, and the shield can be really nice for you and a nearby ally. It's also nice when, let's say, it's like everyone gets bursted down except you and one other person, and you don't have enough energy to resurrect 4. Well, hey, you resurrect 3, and that 4th guy, they still get the Buddy Barrier shield, so it can be really nice there as well. So that's really solid. Flowstone can be okay since with this build specifically, not the other build, because you'll be flying around a lot, so getting around the map quickly is really nice. I think I wouldn't really consider running anything else on the Pokemon in this slot if you're just looking for a flex slot. Leftovers is like kind of okay. It's more so better in Pokemon like Blissey that aren't really dealing damage ever. Ho, you're dealing a lot of damage ideally, so even this is kind of suspect as well, I think. I think best though is just Attack Rate for pure damage, Excel Bracer for pure damage but you don't want to stack, Curse Bangle if your team needs a curse item, or if they have a lot of Pokemon that need curse items and you want more than one, you can run Curse Bangle. This Focus Band if you're just looking to survive, Weakness Policy to have a better early game, but you don't want to try to stack on this thing. Buddy Bear is okay, but this is the all-purpose thing, I think. If you can stack, then making Attack Rate is good. Resonant Guard, as I've said before, I think it's the best held item in the game. And I think it's incredibly good on Ho because, again, you have a lot of damage over time. So you're going to constantly be proccing your Resonant Guard, ideally. So you constantly have an extra shield on yourself and your teammates. And constant extra uptime on shields is nice for Ho as well with Regenerator, right? So you can have more Regenerator going more often. That's really, really strong for weaving in and out of fights and just harassing people where they can't really turn and fight you. They might want to cancel Regenerator, but guess what? You have a Resonant Guard shield. Now they got to do a little bit of extra damage to cancel your Regenerator. Pretty annoying stuff. And that you have such a high HP pool at base means that this is always going to be a good shield for you and whoever else is getting the shield. So really solid stuff there. And always, Resonant Guard just helps make your laning stage super, super solid. So this is a Pokemon that you want to have a good lane for, and he's a really good laner. This just cements that. XP share, again, I did a whole XP share video, so look at that if you want specifics for this item in particular. But because Ho is sort of a helper Pokemon, obviously XP share is pretty good there. And the movement speed and HP is really nice, so, you know, those also synergize really well with what Ho wants to be doing. If you don't want to run XP share for whatever reason, whether you have one on your team and you only want one, or your lane partner is running one, you can run any of the other flex items we talked about, or if you're stacking anyway, Ao's Cookie isn't bad either. The extra HP this gives works really well with Regenerator, obviously, and with Resonant Guard. It's really solid. I think this is my go-to build in general, but if I'm solely focused on stacking and I don't need to run experience share, this is a really solid build. If you're looking to play like a carry Ho, which is more viable now with these moves being as good as they are together, especially Sacred Fire being OP, with the amount of damage you can do and how much attack boost it gives you, you can run a build like this, which I actually ran the other day, and I'm actually going to show that replay to show a different side of Ho-Oh in terms of Ho-Oh being played as a carry Pokemon and doing lots of damage and doing lots on your own. This is probably the best carry build. You could also run Curse here if you need it. This is just straight up damage and burn and annoys people. I still think Resonant Guard, though, is just great for giving you a good lane and just being solid throughout the game. You can also do something like this if you want to balance some where you don't think you're going to play with your team that much, so you don't want the Resonant Guard shield. You'd rather just have more damage, and this can help with that. But still, this is really good for lane, so I would say this is best if you're playing carry Ho-Oh, and this is best if you're not playing carry Ho-Oh. And again, with all the items I talked about with flex and different stuff, as ever, do what you think is best for your game, what you feel is most applicable or works best for you. If you don't agree with any of the choices I've made, make your own choices, you know? Think for yourself some. The guide I'm giving you here is just a baseline for what I feel is a solid foundation for how to play Ho-Oh. And if you learn the Pokemon and expand on it and want to change that, that's perfectly fine. I will say, I'm not just talking at my butt. I do have some pretty good numbers to show with this Pokemon. 50% win rate overall in current season, 86% win rate. So when I'm saying all this stuff, it's not just me talking. I really do feel like I understand well how this Pokemon works and what makes it good. And I hope it shows by this whole guide thus far. everything I've said. Is there anything else I want to say? With the Sacred Fire Fireball, the AoE is a lot bigger than you think it is. Like, the reticle shows it a certain size. It is a slightly bigger size than that even. So you can use it to scout bushes really well. You can use it to retreat from enemies. You can stun them and like fly away. You can stun them and fly on them if you're trying to chase them down. The fact that you can throw it out and then move a different direction, move in any direction at all while you're flying, gives you a lot of flexibility. This move is a very, very flexible move, very strong move. I've said it like 30 times probably, but it's gonna get nerfed. So if you want some easy elo right now, this is definitely the place to get it. I guess now I'll just show off some carry Ho-Oh, right? To show you guys something a little different. Let me find that video. Bum, 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 bum. I think this is it. Here we go. Alright, so we'll watch this video together. And I'll talk about some things about the moves I've discussed specifically while the video is going, sort of give you guys an idea of what to think, how to think about the game, all that stuff, how to play carry Ho-Oh. In the comments, let me know what you thought of this guide as well if you've watched this far. If you haven't watched this far, either way, thank you. I really do appreciate it. As always, please, I appreciate comments, likes, subscriptions, all of those things help me out. And I am streaming more on Twitch these days, so if you want to see some gameplay live, come check me out there. The link will be in the description. It's also on my channel page. Let's get into it. So as you can see, I'm not playing Expedia. This is the carry game I mentioned. I just wanted to give describe some of the things that make Sacred Fire and Flamethrower good in context, while also talking about how carry Ho-Oh can play. So you can see there I have a Sableye lane partner, which if you've been around at all, you know I'm not the biggest fan of, but we make it work where we can. You saw me go for the contested farm at first while my teammate is stacking. I think contested is really important to go for. Again, I'm just backing off and focusing on contested farm while he's harassing them doing annoying Sableye crap. I think I missed that secure that time. That's just how it goes sometimes. My teammate is being a crazy animal. That's just how it goes. Again, right now I just want to focus on levels. 5 is where this Pokemon really starts to pop off, especially in a lane like this, where I am against a special attacker and I'm against someone like Goodra who really suffers from getting slowed. He doesn't want to get slowed. He wants to be able to move from bushes to goal zones and vice versa. There we got all the small birds, nice. And that is targeting wild Pokemon and not enemy Pokemon. Just getting some HP from Regenerator and my goal zone before I go back in. And look, while I'm attacking him, he can't fight me back, and so my Regenerator has been going back up, and I'm already full HP. And now we finally get our first stack. Very nice. I've talked about this before in my last guide, but again, since Ho is a really strong laner, you can contest enemy farm a lot once you have your first move. So don't be afraid to play aggressively on their side, especially if you're stacking. Because look, situations like this, where they're forced off their goal zone or off sides, you can take advantage of by stealing their farm really quickly with the high damage of Flamethrower. Here you see how the boosted movement speed of X speed plus Safeguard can help me avoid a bad situation like that. And of course now I have Sacred Fire, which, yeah, you saw the size of the stun, you saw the size of the circle. It's all really strong stuff. And of course the boosted attack I have right now means that I can control this space effectively and deal a lot of damage to all my targets. Look at that. I'm able to finish him off with the burst of Sacred Fire and then continue attacking my other targets. Really strong stuff. This is a game where my teammates... I don't want to... I never like to blame my teammates for when things go wrong. I like to take responsibility where I can. This is a game where my teammates played really, really poorly, I think. We lost top really early. My teammates spent a lot of the game pinging me and just being really obnoxious. So this is a situation where I was really prioritizing just playing my own game, getting my own stacks off. And you'll see in the mid game especially where I just sort of do my own thing. Look at that massive AoE damage of Sacred Fire and Flamethrower, picking up a lot of KOs. And now that we're able to chase her down with her lowered special attack during burning, we're not really worried about the damage we take from her, right? So since we are playing carry Ho and we have all this damage, we have a lot of kill stacks already, I think we've got all our score stacks now. I'm going to focus on objectives and fighting where I can, but mainly just controlling the map where I can. Already, I'm the highest level in the game by 2 levels, and I'm going to maintain that level advantage the rest of the game and just continue to oppress my opponents by stealing their farm. And look, they're going to push this in, but I'm already scoring bottom a lot. And as you'll come to see, I will knock out this goal zone by 5 minutes. So they might do whatever they want up here, but I already know, okay, well, the way my team's playing losing top as quickly as they did, I just want to generate an advantage somewhere else on the map if I can. I'm already over here. Why am I going to go back home when I can't get top very quickly and there's all this farm to do over here, right? I can gain an advantage over here instead. And you can see there how it's flying over, like, the middle rock there with Sacred Fire. And, like, again, here I'm just flying over the map with XP. He can't do anything to keep up with me. He has to walk all the way over here. And by the time he gets over here, I'm already stealing his farm again. So there, the stun sets him up for me to start burning with Flamethrower. And it's a very easy kill to secure against a squishy target like Gardevoir. As I said before, this build is very, very good at picking off attackers. So especially if you are veteran, ultra rank, where people are mainly just spamming attackers, Ho-Oh is very, very strong for just, you know, punishing people's bad habits. Another easy KO to pick up there. Again, at this point, we're the highest level by 2 full levels in the game on ally and enemy team. We're just completely controlling the game. And here we are now getting ready to go score once again, making use of the movement we get from Sacred Fire to take a very direct route over the map, get down here very efficiently before we can get punished, and boom, goal zone's knocked out. Even with them putting in a Regieleki top and scoring what they did, we're still up by a small amount right now, and I'm up by 2 levels still, and my team's levels, even though I haven't been playing with them, are doing okay anyway. This is sort of how I think Carry Ho is meant to be played, is where you control your space wherever it is, and you force the enemy to deal with you. And if they can't, well, guess what? Look, I have 8 kills and 3 assists, so I am almost full on kill stacks. I'm full on score stacks, so everything's coming up the way I want it to right now. I think here I'm going to do this Reggie, right, and then go top afterwards when they do their Reggie. I'm just anticipating how the game is going in my mind as I'm playing. I'm like, okay, well, they're going to get top again. I'm going to get bottom quickly and then go top as they're getting top, so I can contest this time with my team now that I have a jump pad to get there from my base. I also have res to resurrect my team, and I'll have full energy after this, obviously, so I can resurrect whoever I need to. Jeez, level 13 at 4 minutes is mind-boggling, right? So here we are. As you can see, getting stunned is kind of Ho-Oh's kryptonite, but we're able to avoid Dragonite's stuns and outmaneuver him by flying over the walls with Sacred Fire. Again, the stun aspect of the move means that we can effectively control both the objective and our enemies. And again, look at me. I'm just keeping DPS optimal while maintaining angles that he can't really fight me at. Flying over walls in ways that prevent him from counterattacking. And of course, he's overall my team, so that's part of why he died, but you can see how even if I didn't have much of my team there with me, even just 1 or 2 other people, we could secure that Goodra kill very easily, just by virtue of the fact that I am as mobile as I am. You can see their Sacred Fire is also nice for things like, oh, well, I'm just going to fly just for movement. I can still Sacred Fire a Baltoy to help my teammate farm it faster, you know? That sort of thing. There it is. An ambush attack, as you can see, with the Sacred Fire to advance on someone, all being very good. Because Ho-Oh is a ranged Pokemon and is kind of vulnerable to stuns, and they have a lot of stuns and slows on their team, you can see how I'm playing very defensively in position. Even though I have a level advantage on that Goodra by a very large margin, I'm not going to fight him directly. Instead, I'm going to go for someone that I can fight directly, or at least help get the KO on, someone who's already low. Bop, boop, bam, nice and easy. Sacred Fire AoE can help contest Goal Zone. We missed the hit on them that time, but you can see even just the damage is enough to finish him now that I'm at 15. Obviously, it'll be hard to stay this ahead every single game, but even if you're 13, you'll still be able to effectively punish them in the ways that I'm showing you. It's just a lot easier because I'm 15. Even if I was 12, I think I'd be able to do this on my own with just the Sableye. I should mention, I'm not running Curse this game because my Sableye is, so I'm running, as I said, Resonant Guard, Excel Bracer, and Score Weight, or Attack Weight, whatever it's called, just for damage. I'm looking at my map right now, seeing that the Wigglytuffs are cheating, so I'm creating an opportunity for my Leafeon to get in there and help me attack, and we're dealing a lot of damage. And since he's under my Goal Zone, I think we can actually go for this KO here. If not, I'm able to still just punish Gardevoir's positioning and go on her and get that KO very nicely. We show up to Rayquaza about half health because they were ripping it, but they're already forced to back off, right? Because the damage and positioning that Ho-Oh can gain is just too significant. I'm checking bushes right now. Oh, no one in that bush. Okay. And I'm just patrolling around Rayquaza. We don't need to do it. I just want to make sure they can't do it. So I'm looking for enemies on the map. I'm looking for enemies that are still alive, haven't respawned yet, that sort of thing. I'm dodging stuff like the Gardevoir ult. I'm staying in position to use my ult, and here we go. I'm going to do that, and with the movement speed, hunt down the Gardevoir most likely. Yep. So you can see how Ho gets an advantage early on. Ho can really snowball that advantage very effectively. And even if they go on me all in, as we'll see in a minute, it's very hard for them to kill me when I'm level 15. Even if I'm 14 or 13, the HP I would have is very, very strong. Very, very difficult to overcome. There you can see how if you lose your Sacred Fire buff, it's important to keep in mind your escape options. So I sort of went around a long way that prevented Wigglytuff from going straight on me. Okay, here they're going all on me, right? And there was a lot of HP pretty quickly, but with Sacred Fire I'm able to back off. And you can see how I was sort of flying towards the walls there. My general instinct with Sacred Fire is use the walls as escapes, because your opponents can't fly over walls, obviously. And if they're melee especially, they're not going to be able to chase you down with damage in most cases. So just keep that in mind as you're evading your enemies, as you're positioning in fights with Sacred Fire. Yeah, you can see there's a slower attack range of your boosted attacks actually come into play. I'm glad that happened to sort of show that off. But yeah, as we can see here, I ended up with a lot of KOs and assists. Obviously, they were a team that I feel was really weak to Ho-Oh, and I sort of capitalized on those weaknesses well. But nonetheless, you can see how and why Carry Ho-Oh can work. What I believe makes the Pokemon viable right now. So anyway, that was a lot of talking, a lot of guide stuff. I hope I covered everything. If you have any questions, comments of any kind, let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Hope your Ho-Oh games go great. And yeah, be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. See y'all in the future. Thanks.